All right, let's dive right in. For decades, the way we've treated depression has followed a pretty predictable path. But today, we're going to talk about a treatment that is completely rewriting the rulebook.
It's a pretty wild story of rediscovery, right? In this explainer, we're going to break down the science, look at the actual evidence, and get real about what it's like to use ketamine for one of our toughest mental health challenges. So first up, we need to understand the exact problem ketamine is trying to solve. It's a tough situation called treatment-resistant depression, or TRD for short.
You see, this isn't just a small delay. We're talking about a long, drawn-out period of suffering where you don't even know if the treatment will help in the end. For someone who's really struggling, being told to wait 2 months to maybe feel better, well, that can feel like an absolute eternity. It's created this desperate, urgent need for something that works much, much faster.
And this is where a very unlikely hero enters the story. A drug with a really long and, frankly, very different history.
So, ketamine is not some newfangled drug. Nope, it was created over 60 years ago and has been a go-to anesthetic in hospitals and emergency rooms all over the world for decades. It's even on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. But its role in treating depression? That's a much more recent chapter in its story. And here is the absolute game changer. Its speed. This is what makes ketamine a true paradigm shift. While those traditional treatments take weeks, ketamine can have a major antidepressant effect within just hours of a single dose, often peaking around the 24-hour mark.
Okay, so how on earth does it work so fast? Well, the answer really changes how we think about the biology of depression itself.
For years, the story of depression has been all about neurotransmitters like serotonin. But ketamine? It doesn't really play in that sandbox. Instead, it works on a totally different system, glutamate. And glutamate is the brain's most common, most powerful go signal.
What's so fascinating here is that it kicks off this incredible chain reaction. Ketamine starts by blocking a receptor called NMDA. Think of this as taking the brakes off the system. This leads to a huge surge of glutamate, which then activates another key receptor called AMPA. And that is what starts this whole cascade of events inside the brain cell, ultimately leading to regrowth.
This whole process has a name: neuroplasticity. You see, chronic stress and depression can actually cause brain cells to shrink and lose their connections, especially in the parts of the brain that handle mood. What ketamine seems to do is rapidly reverse that damage by helping new connections or synapses grow back. It's literally like helping a damaged tree regrow its branches, effectively rewiring the brain's circuits. Now, all of this sounds amazing in theory, right? But what does the actual clinical data say? Well, the results have been pretty darn consistent. This here is a huge finding from a review of a bunch of top-notch studies. They all keep showing the same thing. A single IV infusion of ketamine creates a fast and powerful antidepressant effect for patients who haven't gotten better with multiple other treatments.
So the early studies were all about IV ketamine, which doctors still use off-label today. But all that amazing research is what paved the way for the development of S-ketamine, which is a nasal spray. It's basically one specific part of the ketamine molecule, and in 2019, it made history as the first treatment of its kind to be FDA approved specifically for treatment-resistant depression.
And this number right here, this is a big reason why. In a key study, patients who got S-ketamine, along with their regular antidepressants, saw their depression scores drop by 4 points more than patients who got a placebo spray. Now I know, 4 points might not sound like a lot, but in clinical terms, that's a significant improvement, and it was absolutely crucial for getting the drug approved.
But, and this is a big but, we're talking about a powerful drug. Using it isn't as simple as just getting a prescription. It comes with a very strict set of rules and, of course, potential risks. During the treatment, and for a little while after, people can experience some side effects. The most well-known is dissociation, that kind of out-of-body or surreal feeling. Blood pressure can also spike for a bit. The important thing to know is that these effects are almost always temporary. They go away within a couple of hours, and the whole thing happens under direct medical supervision. So because of those risks and the potential for misuse, S-ketamine is only available through a really strict safety program mandated by the FDA. It has to be given in a certified clinic, and patients have to be monitored for at least 2 hours after every single dose. This is not something you can just take home with you.
And this brings us to the main challenge with the treatment. Those really powerful antidepressant effects from a single dose, they typically only last for about a week. So to keep from relapsing, patients need to come back for regular maintenance sessions to keep the benefits going.
Okay, so let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here. Ketamine isn't just a new drug on the block. It represents a whole new way of thinking about depression.
You know, for decades, we've had this idea of depression as just a chemical imbalance, usually of serotonin. The success of a drug like ketamine, which targets glutamate, has really forced the entire field of psychiatry to evolve. We're now looking at depression more as a problem with the brain's circuits and its ability to adapt and change, a disorder of neuroplasticity. And this has just blown the doors wide open for new research. Scientists are now digging into ketamine's metabolites, that's what the body breaks it down into, to see if they can get the same benefits but with fewer side effects. It's fueling this whole new wave of drug development, searching for that holy grail, an antidepressant that works just as fast but lasts longer and is even safer to use.
It really leaves you with a pretty profound question, doesn't it? Ketamine was basically hiding in plain sight as an anesthetic for 40 years before we discovered its incredible antidepressant effects. It just makes you wonder, what other established medicines, things we think we know inside and out, might be holding the keys to treating some of our most challenging conditions?